Hey, I'm Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater, and I'm here today to introduce you to a very cool new plugin from Universal Audio. This is Way Studios Deluxe. Now, what this plugin allows you to do is apply the characteristics of an incredible classic recording studio to your tracks. Let's dig in and take a closer look at everything that this plugin can do. Now, Way Studios is one of the all-time great recording studios created by master engineer Alan Sides. It has two rooms, as we'll see inside this plugin, that have very different characteristics. And there are a number of different ways we can configure things for applying reverb to our different sources. And what I really like about Way Studios is it really makes it sound like you're working in those rooms. So when you're doing a mix and you want to bring everything together and have it sound like it's happening in one place, a plugin like this is a fantastic option, and Way Studios is one of the best. So when we open the plugin, we have a very cool user interface here. We can actually see both studios. So this is Studio A and this is Studio B. We have a little description there. You can turn information or tool tips on and off. Studio B is a little smaller space. Studio A is a larger space. And we sort of have pre-configurations for drums, and we can choose either wall placement. We'll see that the drums move over here in that case, or we can place them in a corner over here. For acoustic guitar, we could choose to place that against the wall here. We could also look at recording a piano. And typically Alan would do that over here in a corner. We can also place speakers for remiking our sources in this room. So you could set up a PA system like this. We could set up a 4x12 cabinet for guitar. We could set up a 2x12 cabinet. We also could record a solo vocal, one microphone here with some baffles around it, or if you're working with more of an ensemble type thing. And if you are working with an ensemble, we have both horns and we have strings. Now, of course, you can use any of these with any of your sources, so you have a lot of options. And again, we have both Studio A and we have Studio B with all those options. So we have a ton of capability of getting the exact sound we want in these amazing rooms. Now, let's jump back over to Studio A and let's look at drum recording. I'm going to place the drums against the wall here. Now, you'll see that we have three different sets of microphones here, three different stereo pairs, and you actually have quite a bit of control over those as well. So our close set here in front can be either a C12, a large diaphragm condenser mic, or it can be a C12A, which is a very different microphone. Now, we can set the level for that, and we can also choose the polar pattern, either omni or cardioid. For room 1, which is this set here that's sort of midway in the room, we have a choice of C12, a KU3A, a KM54, and an MKH20. Very different sounding microphones. Let's go back here to the KU3A, and I'm actually going to put this back to our C12s. And then finally we have our distant mics, or room 2, which are these here. And we have a choice of C12, U67, which is what I'm going to use here. We also have KM54s, M50s, and MKH20s. All classic microphones. And again, we can choose the polar pattern, either omni or cardioid, and we can set the level of that here. Over here on the side, we have some different options that we can use. First, we have a mixer. So we can balance and we can blend those three sets of microphones here. You can set the distance, moving those forward and backward. Let's leave those right about there for each of the three sets. We can also time align them. We'll take a look at that a little bit later. We can apply a high pass and a low pass filter to each one of those independently. And we also can invert the polarity of each of those independently. And of course we have our left-right balance, and then our overall mix here on the bottom, and the ability to mute any of the three sets of microphones. Now we have a second mode with Way Studios Deluxe, and that's reverb mode. Now this is going to be more like you're using a reverb in a mix where you're sending through a send and you're blending the sound of the room back in, as opposed to sort of re-recording the source in the room, which is what remiking is. So they're a little bit different, as we'll see. If we go to reverb, we also now have control over pre-delay, we can control the wet-dry mix, and so on. In addition to the mixer, we also have effects that we can apply overall. So we've got a 3-band EQ here. We've also got dynamics control, 6 different types of compressors available here with sidechain linking, sidechain filtering, very cool. And at the bottom, we have chambers that we can add in. So if we want to mix in some artificial delay, we can do that here as well. We have several different sets of chambers, A, D, and W. From Way Studios, we have a mount, we have pre-delay, we have stereo width, and so on. So you have a lot of capability for shaping things there. Of course, we can engage and bypass each of these sections independently. There are various settings we can make for each of those. But let's hide all this for now. Everything is sort of set up to be just equal mix and so on. But I'm going to run a set of drums through these, and we'll mess around a little bit with these microphones. All right, so let's go ahead and mute the room, and I will play just the dry drums for you. Now we'll bring in the Way Studios Deluxe plugin. Now that may be more room than you'd mix into your mix ordinarily, but it really gives you a feel for the sonic quality of this space that they've recreated here. It's super authentic. Now let's listen to some of the different presets, because you'll hear the way these microphones change, the rooms change, the positioning in the rooms change, and so on. So I'm going to click over here, and let's choose drums and look at the different drum presets that are available inside this. It's amazing how much the sound of the drums themselves change when you position them in the room, and that's the beauty of this. When you place them in that space and you get those microphones placed in different positions, different combinations of microphones, you can really dial in on exactly the effect that you want. But this doesn't work with just drums. We could also use it with other sources as well. Let's switch over here and choose a piano. And I'm going to open up presets for pianos here. We'll turn drums off. So we just have pianos, and let's listen to that bypassed. Once again, it's fascinating how the sound of the piano itself changes when you place that in the room. There's so many different ways you can set all this up. I mean, you saw some of that with the distances and the way they were configuring the microphones. If we open this back up here, we can see that the only one we have on is actually room 2, or the distant ones. We've got them 22 feet away, and we can move those in much, much closer. Really interesting what you can do with just a single set of microphones, let alone adding the others in, adding compression or dynamics, adding EQ, and so on. Now let's take a listen to some upright bass presets. Let's go over here, we'll turn off our piano tag, and we will choose our bass tag. And I have a upright bass track ready to go. I really love this plugin. It gives you so many options for perfecting the ambience and the space that your tracks are sitting in. Now, you want to dig in deeper with this, head over to sweetwater.com, or better yet, contact your Sweetwater sales engineer, and they can help explain to you how this can make your tracks sound their absolute best, because they're going to sound like they're recorded in one of the very best studios of all time. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater.